Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello, and welcome back to the channel where, yes, we're doing this again, and we're doing it in style. I'm about to be embarking in a couple of weeks on a tour around Europe with my Ford GT. Now, one of the things I've always said about this car, as much as I love it, is that it's useless for a grand tour because there is zero luggage space. Hence, we've brought out the roof box. The roof box that you might remember we actually painted in blue electrico because at the start of the year, I popped it on the top of the SF90 Stradale, had it painted to match, popped on some winter tires and went on a trip to the Alps down to Switzerland, had that thing in the snow. But we're taking this to Spain. We're taking this down to Supercar Owners Circle for the Spain weekend in September after I've got back, of course, from America. And that means we're going to wrap the roof box to match the car. A bit of a backstory if you have absolutely no idea why my Ford GT currently looks like this. It's a pop art theme, of course. It's a project that's in collaboration with the artist Lhouette and Wycliffe Galleries, who have created a series called Hyper Pop. The idea is to bring together iconic pop culture characters with an iconic hypercar, supercar, the Ford GT. The idea is then to auction off the original 4 artworks with Bonhams in October, just a couple of months away, with 50% of the proceeds going to support the charity CALM, the campaign against living miserably that helps with mental health issues. This is, of course, a quite exciting thing to be part of, but also to make something wild and crazy. And I know a lot of people look forward to seeing the return of the red with the gold stripes underneath, the tribute to the Alan Mann racing cars from back in the 60s. That will be back down the line, but in the meantime, this is something so fun, out there, wild, crazy. There's so much to it, and everybody who sees this car in person spends a lot of time taking in all of the details. You've got Speed Racer, SpongeBob, Mario, Simpsons. You've got all sorts of different things that stand out, even up on the roof, and this is quite a fun nod to what we're going to see later. You've got a little tribute to the livery underneath. Iron Man right here in the red and gold. When the factory were assembling this car, they nicknamed it the Iron Man car because of the colour scheme. So what we have here then is the roof box, because if you want to take a Ford GT on a road trip, all I'm going to say now is good luck to you. In fact, if you've never seen it before, back here in the boot of this thing, that's what you've got. Good luck. You might fit a wash bag and a t-shirt or two, but not a whole lot else. So the idea here is to make the car just slightly more usable than it normally is, because I've driven it 8 and a bit thousand miles. I want to say, what's the number? 8,275 miles. I want to do a few thousand more. That's the idea behind this. And let's face it, supercars with a roof box look cool. So part 1 right now is to readjust the monkey bars that we have here, the C-suckers, to the roof of this car because it's narrower. Step 2 is to mount the roof box so that we can actually go and drive it. Step 3 is to take it to Dub Customs, take off the roof box, wrap the roof box in a design that Lhouette has done to match the car, which I'm going to show you shortly. And then step 4 is to probably bring it back home and get it ready for the road trip in a couple of weeks' time. To show you this quickly, it is secured. We've also got some pads on here that need to come off, but you will see from the width, that's not going to fit. So we need to effectively adjust this. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be saying, you're sticking some suction pads onto a wrapped car, which is also a wrap on top of a PPF, on top of lacquer, on top of paint, on top of metal, however you want to look at it, or carbon. I'm not sure what the roof of this is. It's a bonded roof to the car, and people who have tested this have established that it won't come off to a very high speed. And the SF90 also had a PPF roof, and we never had any issues with it. So obviously, slow, steady, cautious is the approach. But step 1 is to figure out which Allen key I need and get this slightly adjusted so that we can hopefully pop it onto the roof of the car. Having now moved this slightly into the middle, one thing to think about, window and roof bar. We're going to come to that in just a moment, because over here, I want to show you this, wrapped in some protection at the moment. This is in pieces Ford GT. This is the artist proof of one of the pieces, which obviously is going to be hanging here at the Shmuseum with the sparkle that comes from the glass in it, but layered up with the original artworks. This thing is so cool to think that that's now effectively what's been transposed to the car. And there are various different pieces as well that are part of this. Absolutely love this and the work that Lhouette has done with this. I've always been a fan of, I mean, look around the garage, right? Colors, vibrance, different retro throwbacks with arcade machines, a Pac-Man machine. We've got all the Maxi Swatch watches. So for me, that is completely on theme with what I love. Now this, like I mentioned, Yeah. Whew. That's close. Let me go and try the other side actually. See if that's the same or if we have a problem here. But in theory, this should be totally fine. Ooh, we're gonna have to adjust it. We're gonna have to adjust it. Good thing I did it slowly on this side because that would be a problem very quickly. Maybe we need to cut these down. We're gonna get to that. A little bit of shuffling later and we are that close. And it's about that close on both sides. But hey, if it's not touching, then it's mission success. It would only be a problem if it touches, because once they are fully installed, they're not gonna move. So we're good. Suctions are down. I just need to tighten this up and then obviously put the rear bar on. With some roof bars in place and kind of secured for the time being, not permanent, time to put the roof box on. So let's lift this up and carefully lean over a Ford GT to put a roof box on. This is an unusual move. We seem to be a bit snagged. Way more in at the front side. What are we caught on? There we go. There we go. We can choose a little bit of forwards, backwards to have it exactly how we want it. That's freaking cool. That's really cool. All right, a little bit of repositioning and adjusting. We haven't bored you guys with all of the minor adjustments. A lot of like, a little bit here, a little bit there. What we might do is cut down these bars because I think it would look a little bit smarter. We're slightly out from one side to the other at the moment, but we're not finished because obviously when we get to dub, this needs to come off. If we were smart, we would pop that into the boot of the van and just take the van, the MSRT Transit Custom. That would be the easier way to do this, but it would also be the least exciting way to do this because it would be so easy. So GT going over, I need to unplug the C-Tech. That's doing that quickly. Opening the door like this is definitely nerve-wracking, but we know we're good, so it's not gonna hit. We'll get this unplugged and then get the car started. Obviously, one of the earlier runs, technically still, with the Quicksilver exhaust on it, which is quite fun. Always to take this out. Once this is off, yeah, we'll just go and grab our stuff, get this started, get it on the road, and go do the first drive with the roof box on a Ford GT, which not too many people would be mad enough to try. One question we were wondering, could you still open the rear hatch? And the answer to that is easily. That's as high as it goes anyway. Next question is, how do we squeeze stuff in here? But I'm gonna give that a go because for the first run, I'd rather not have anything up top. So wish us luck. Understandably, we've been taking this quite easy so far, but we're joining the motorway, and if you look up there, there's a roof box. Now, one thing that's helpful is that I can actually reach all of the suckers here, just to make sure that everything's still completely tight, and obviously safety first, but we think it's gonna work out fine. So I imagine everybody around us is, firstly, looking at the wrap of this car, confused, because rightfully so, given how wild and crazy it is. And secondly, the fact that it's got a box on the roof. None of this makes any sense. Now, my experience driving with the SF90 with the exact same setup at the end of the day, attached to a film on the car, was that over a couple of thousand miles, I mean, I must have driven it 2,500 miles, it was completely fine the entire way through. It never loosened, never came off, nothing like that. And obviously in Europe, you have higher speed limits than we do here. So I'm basically hopeful I can just drive normally. Obviously not booted somewhere. If you go to 100 miles an hour, 110, 120, it's probably gonna go poof and disappear off somewhere. But at the moment, it's all good. Little bit of a tunnel run, we nearly missed it. The roof box supercar tunnel run. Right, in this car actually, by the way, if you put it in normal, and then in the middle I've got a button to put it into comfort suspension, it's actually pretty soft. I'm quite looking forward to doing a really long drive in the GT, because I've never used it for that, because you don't have luggage space. The only time I've really gone a long distance was once from London to the Nürburgring with my suitcase in the passenger seat because I was traveling alone, and that worked. So it's a different perspective on the car, but it's a GT, it's a Grand Tourer. It's supposed to be able to sit on a motorway like we are right now. So in theory, it's going to be great for the purpose. It's a long drive, And I'll go through a little bit more later on what the plans are actually going to be for the trip down to Spain. But Supercar Owners Circle at the other end, it's going to be so good. If you remember last year, it was when I took delivery of the Zenvo. We went to Croatia for the running in tour, chasing La Voiture Noire and countless Bugattis, Koenigsegg's, Paganis and plenty more. So I rather expect similar this time around. So you get beeped and flashed and all sorts of things going on. Sitting in the traffic here. We are arriving with the Dub Boys back at Dub Customs in the GT. It's normal like this, right?
Yeah, it's totally normal.
You will notice some masking tape. This is something a lot of people asked about when we were doing the SF90. We're going to cut these bars a bit shorter because they've got a cap on the end. Cut the bar, stick the cap on here, and it's going to look a lot tidier. Obviously, if I ever want to put this on a wider car, it's not going to work so easily. But this means for the time being, we need to take the box off. It would be arguably easier to wrap it on because it would hold steady. But for the time being, I'm going to take this off, which is actually quite simple to do. Should be released now. And then once we've lifted it off, popped it inside, figure out the exact measurements of the bars to cut off the car, not on the car, obviously. And then this is going to be pretty cool. We've got the material as well inside, which I'll show you shortly. I'm excited right now for how this is going to look later on. We've cleaned this up because of how we've been storing it during all of the construction. There are definitely bits of this that have seen better days, but the beautiful thing is the design is going to hide all of those. Talking of the design, come through over here because this is where we have the artwork that has been made specifically for the roof of this car, specifically for the roof box. Some nods to elements that you see on the car that you're going to lose because of the roof box being over it, but a further bit of design by Lhouette, which is actually really quite cool, specifically for this purpose, to make even more of a statement and stand out once this is complete. So running over with Dan just now, this has to be masked because you start with the lower sections and the infill at the back because of the shape of this, and then lastly will be the top part, and then reassembling it while simultaneously you might even be able to hear in the background the grinder that is shortening the roof bars. The unwrapping of the artwork. Check this out. As I mentioned, we've got Iron Man here, given we no longer see Iron Man on the roof. We've got the different items and graphics that are on the top of the car. That's mega. And then we've got the other pieces to go around the side on this printed laminated wrap. That's going to be amazing. Started here with new bits of the design. Also, this has been cut down. This is the first one. Not only has it been cut down, but also painted so that when the cap goes back into place, it looks the part. That obviously is now the right width to be half of this. This is good. This is exciting. And then continue with that, get the last ones of these done, put it all back together. The cool thing about this is having used some lining tape, the material just comes off. Very neat, and that looks really nice at the back. So we've got the kind of eyes staring down whoever's following us. Fast forward a few minutes and check this out. The main part of the design, going over the top of the roof box. This is really quite fun, and it's going to leave us with all sorts of things to work out. Iron Man in place. I cannot wait for the photos of this coming up afterwards once it's all in position. Some mega progress here. We've also got Batman, but obviously the wrapping around the edge, starting to finish this off. It's not going to be too long until we're able to see the completed roof box and pop this on the car. Then at the rear section, we've gone for adding the silhouette design, as you know from the door on the car, to break a bit from the colour and almost create that effect of having a different canvas, which we talked about with the main piece. This is literally moments away now from being put onto the roof. All of the final trimming has been done. We can close this again, lock it up. The last finishing touch is to put in these remaining little pushers, which just go in like this. And they'll need a thorough press down, but basically they will pop into place. And we're going to take this out and go put it on the car. It is time. Let us take this out carefully and go and pop it onto the new shortened roof bars on the Ford GT here. We've moved the car to the shade because today is rather warm, but I think we can just kind of slide this on. There we go. That's okay, that's okay. We just gotta, it will rest. That's fine for the moment. There we go. There we go. We need to shuffle it. That's so cool. Oh, that looks amazing. That looks absolutely amazing. The difference by changing this from blue to matching the car. I thought putting it on the SF90 was cool, but this is like, oh wow, right, let's get it mounted in place properly and then secured down. So cool. This is where, because Ford GT, we're going to drop the suspension. Obviously it sounds amazing. Pop my drink in the cup holders. Window down. Don't need to worry about the doors hitting the rails anymore. Everything else is right. Okay, let's drop it. And up again, just because you can. I actually want to step out myself to see what this looks like, so I'm gonna have to give it a go. Oh, gosh, that's low when it's down in track mode. It beeps because I've got the key on me. Look at that! This thing is lower with the roof box on top than most normal cars are. Like, it's below my shoulders, even with a roof box. It works perfectly. And I love how it brings that design that's here up to the top so you don't lose it. It's still there, it's still part of the look. What a result. Top work by Lhouette to create that. Top work by Wycliffe Galleries to pull this together. Top work by Dub Customs to get the wrap done, to get the printed material, and to get this thing ready for the trip ahead. Just in normal traffic, in something that is not very normal. It's funny to think that the Ford GT, like I said earlier, is a lovely car to drive a long distance. It just has the problem of no luggage space. I mean, inside here, there is nothing. The time that I actually took it for 2 nights away, we had even dirty clothes wedged under here in this gap with the bridge across the dashboard, because it was the only place you could even begin to imagine squeezing anything. Safe to say the new exhaust system sounds very, very nice. And I'm hoping we still have a roof box above us. It is quite strange because I can't see it. I can't see it looking forwards, I can't see it in the mirrors. I just have to basically hope that it's still up there and nothing weird has happened while we're driving along. But yeah, here we are. Done. Easy. A very quick turnaround on an eccentric idea really to go about doing. How good does this look back at the Shmuseum? It's so crazy. I need to tell you a little bit more about the plans though, because obviously, big adventure ahead. Now I've driven 8,500 miles or so in the Ford GT. I've had it for, at this point, about 4 years and 8 months, that kind of region, coming up to 5 years. But given I consider this car a forever car, in the early days, I couldn't drive it quite so much. I was a little bit worried about the values of them. Obviously at the time, it was a massive step up. For me to buy this car 4.5 years ago was moderately terrifying. This and the Senna at exactly the same time. Fast forward a little bit, and I feel more familiar, more comfortable with the car, more happy to go and enjoy it, because whether it's got 10,000 miles on it or 30,000 miles in however many years down the line is going to make zero difference to anything, but so much difference to the memories, which is why we kind of embraced this project and decided to go full on. So we're going to set off from here, drive through France. I would like to go down the route Napoleon. I haven't driven that route for a long time, down towards Cannes, Monaco, do a couple of things down there, then head for a long old slog across the south of France, over towards Spain, to enter into Spain, perhaps Barcelona, down the east coast, maybe down to Valencia. Then from Valencia, we'll continue onwards through Spain towards the private event, effectively, for Supercar Owners Circle. Now, after all of the fun of that, and last time round was mind-blowing, I'd like to go for a stop perhaps via Madrid. Then the plan is up to Santander to catch a ferry with the Ford GT from Santander back towards the south of England to then drive it home. So obviously between now and then, I've got a Zenvo in the United States of America to go and enjoy for a couple of weeks. And this is surreal as you could imagine for Monterey Car Week. But after Car Week, it's straight back, right into the thick of things. I think I'm literally gonna have like a night here, one night here or thereabouts before turning around, starting the journey with this. And now, being able to do it, being able to take the Ford GT for a road trip. And I know that this really, I've never seen a talking point like it. I've never seen something have such polarizing opinions, whether it's the use of the pop culture graphics, whether it's the different canvases, the idea of the front, the sides, and the rear having these different sections. Now, no doubt, having a roof box on the car, having that with the design as well. But I think that's the point of cool art pieces, and it's certainly the point of this project, and I hope you understand that. The point of this project is to get people talking, because if we can raise some good funds for Calm in the process, I mean, what could be better, right? That would be the ultimate outcome. So raising awareness, bringing attention to a very important topic, the topic of mental health, of course, especially in the world we live in, and kind of having fun with it as well. I've always been a fan of this type of artwork. I mean, I love this piece that we took a look at earlier, and I cannot wait to have that up on the wall here. I think it looks epic, and you can see how those canvases work when you look at it like this, the different canvases for the different panels. Obviously on the car itself, things change slightly from the original ideas, concepts, once you start working with that 3D canvas that is the car. But today, super cool. I love that we chopped the bars down. I know with the SF90, they didn't quite stick out so far on the SF90, but it was always a little bit peculiar. Now it just feels more like it's made for the car. And this car is such a sleek shape to begin with that the low, wide, long roof box fits it really, really well. I've blabbered on enough. Thank you very much to Lhouette for putting together the art pieces. Thank you to the team at Wycliffe Galleries for arranging it all. And thank you also to Dub Customs today for getting this ready for me, getting it all looking amazing on the car. For now, I need to park it up. America is calling. I think if all goes to plan, I'm gonna cross every single thing I possibly can. My next video should be driving the Zenvo TSRS in Los Angeles. Let's hope that happens, because that's going to be unbelievable. That's it for now, though. Thank you very much for watching, as always, guys. I appreciate your support an awful lot, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.